I'm going to talk to you about a few things in the next 15, 20 minutes. I'm going to tell you a little bit about National Highways. I'm going to tell you a little bit about the work we do. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about the future of the network and how we take things forward. But I just wanted to say, first and foremost, that roads are important and they will be maintained to be important. And we need to recognise that they will still form the main mode of transport for the majority of journeys. And that's quite an important message for you, and it's quite an important message in the wider context in terms of planning for the future of the network, because sometimes that message is lost, and I think sometimes we need to reinforce that message, and it's about what we do, but it's also about what you do as well in terms of doing that. So first and foremost, that is the strategic road network, as you see it, some facts and figures there. We are a government-owned organisation, so we have one shareholder, and that is the Secretary of State for Transport. And we were established in 2015 under the Infrastructure Act, and you will have seen some of the changes since then. Interestingly, the government set out our main purpose. I just want to read this out because it's quite important in terms of the context of what we do. So it's to enable safe, predictable, rapid, long-distance journeys, linking major population, ports, airports, and geographically peripheral regions. But fundamentally, it's also about delivering outcomes. It's about supporting growth, helping people choose where they live. I was interested in the word chart before about where people came from, and it's terrible because I was thinking about roads. So a lot of people came from Nottingham, so I was thinking about your journey on the M1, the A42, the M6. I was crossing my fingers to hope it was a good journey and a safe and reliable journey. And I thought I'd give you some key facts and figures. So they're on the screen, but I think the key point to note is it is a nationally significant piece of infrastructure. 34% of all traffic is carried on the SRN, 68% of all heavy goods vehicles, and it only makes up 2.4% of the road network. So it delivers a lot of traffic volume and a lot of connectivity nationally. But some facts around it. It is a network which has seen huge growth since 2000. We've had a 20% growth in traffic. And as part of that, we've also seen delay grow. And I'm sure you've had journeys affected by delay. And I was interested in some of the slide or questions around what's affecting your networks. And we're talking about driver shortages. We're talking around how you make sure you have efficient and effective operations. So journey times have decreased. 2015, there was 60 miles an hour. By 2025, there'll be 55 miles per hour, and that's because of growth. And the National Infrastructure Commission estimated that the total cost of congestion to the UK freight system was around £6 billion, so 0.3% of GDP. So key network, and a key network in supporting UK PLC. And in that context of the network, the importance of the network, I think it's really important for conference to think about the direction of the network moving forward. So government sets priorities every 5 years through the Roads Investment Strategy. The next Roads Investment Strategy will follow the spending review in June 2023, and you'll have heard about 2025, and you'll have heard a lot about that in terms of the discussions on the news and with politicians about those difficult fiscal decisions you need to make. And our next RIS will cover the period of 2026 to 2031, and it will set out the priorities that government wants National Highways to deliver on its behalf. But what's important about that investment is it needs to support government's growth agenda. And we've got Keir there, and you've heard these 5 missions. And there is a lot of focus on growth, but also focus on housing. And there's lots of sort of policy and guidance going to come out in the next 6 to 12 months, which will affect what we do, but actually also affect what you do. So we'll have an industrial strategy, which will set out how government plans to deliver growth. We'll have planning reform, which sets out how we plan to accelerate the delivery of infrastructure, as well as housing and economic growth. So it's important to set that in terms of context around the political agenda. Whatever government do, though, I think we need to recognise some of the fiscal challenges and some of the challenges government will need to make in terms of their decisions. It is a complex picture, and I'm going to set out some of the things that we're planning to do, but also the sort of future later on this deck. So one of the things we're focused on is around the strategic economic roles of the SRN as well. And the reason we're doing that is we want to set out to government the complexity of the network, but also the complexity of the supply chain and sectors we serve. And we do want to reflect, and we are keen that government have that evidence around the impact of delays and unreliable journeys on business productivity, businesses like yourselves, and how those affect your supply chains, how those affect imports and exports. So we are trying to do a lot more work around the role of the SRN in supporting reliant sectors, strategic connectivity, its role in planning and placemaking. That's evidence to support government's decision-making and why they need to invest in the SRN and why they need to make sure the SRN delivers for our customers and it delivers for UK PLC and delivers for you as well. And one of the evidence base, I suppose, is just to set out the role of the SRN in terms of the network. So on the slides, you'll see on the left hand, as you see it, is the density of HGV movements on our network. So the dark red is movements of over 1 million a year of HGVs on the network, and you'll see that's predominantly our network. Quite important, though, to note the links into Wales and Scotland as well. And what you'll also note is that HGV traffic is growing on our network, so we do have growth on the network in terms of HGV movements. And the network's also really important, just to re-emphasise those points in economic narrative around clusters of growth. So the right-hand side is you'll see is warehousing, so warehousing clusters. You'll see what was often referred to as the Golden Triangle, but you'll see the sort of connectivity the SRN provides to key sectors. So I suppose the next bit is about what do we do to support customers and what do we do in terms of our role. So in the last 5 years, we invested £24 billion. We've opened 30 major enhancements and we started working on 11 schemes. We've got a few schemes there which we'll talk through. Renewals program, we've invested £4.9 billion in existing assets, renewing nearly 8,500 lane kilometres of road pavement service. And also about 2 kilometres of safety barriers. And I could go on, there's lots of examples of what we do. But in terms of some examples there, specific examples, we've got 4 schemes currently in construction that you may be aware of. So we've got A428, Blackcocks, Caxton Gibbet. That's upgrading a single carriageway to dual and grade separated junctions due to complete in 2027. That's about £1 billion. We got A1 Burley Coalhouse, so that's in the northeast near the Metro Centre, Tyne and Wear. That's due to complete shortly and finishes a programme of improvements on the A1 linking Gateshead and Newcastle. We've got the A417 missing link, important route between Gloucester and Swindon. Dual carriageway again, improving those missing links. And again, that's open in 2027. And locally, we've got the A46 Covent Junction. So we improved Binley Junction in 2023, and we've also got Walsgrove Junction 2028. And these are transformational schemes. And if you've driven our network and you've driven these sort of major enhancements, you do recognise the change to the network. So the A14 Huntingdon Cambridge is an example where there was a 10-minute journey time saving because of that scheme. And again, significant. But we're also thinking about the future. So I've just touched on Lower Thames Crossing. It's a significant project and nationally significant, but also will be one of the biggest construction projects in Europe and the time in terms of roads. What I would say about LTC, we're hoping for a decision in May. The Chancellor's made various statements in the press about private finance initiative, how they fund that. That will be transformational. That will be transformational. And anybody who's travelled over Dartford will know the challenge around Dartford and know how LTC can help that. The other side of the equation is schemes like A66, which aren't here. So we've got another scheme, the A66. It's about £1 billion. That connects the A1 and the M6. Has a heavy HGV flow, 25% of the movements are HGVs. And we're proposing to deliver again about a £1 billion improvement to that. And that again looks at single carriageways and dual carriageways. These projects are important, but I think earlier on we were talking about systems and thinking about the system approach in terms of the work we do. So National Highways, you may think is about operating and improving and maintaining the network, but actually it does a lot more work around that. And I know we've got to stand outside and colleagues are talking around driving for better business and the work we do around digital labs. And one of the areas we do focus on is thinking about how we support our customers. So it's not just around the roads and making sure the roads are smooth and safe. It's also about how we think about the service. So one of the things we've been doing recently is doing work around lorry parking, linking into safe parking facilities for lorry drivers. Last week we opened a lorry park in Chippenham, located at the M4, junction 17. And we increased its parking capacity from 89 to 152. What's important about this is these sort of projects, whether it be driving for better business in terms of how we support fleet in terms of safe operation and free guidance, or whether we support electric vehicle charging and innovation, it's about providing a service. It's about thinking about how we support our customers on the network. And it is informed by freight forums. We do a lot of collaboration with the logistics sector. We do have professional driver experience panels to understand more about the challenges of drivers. And we do have now a freight and logistics and coach management survey as well. And we will have a performance indicator on customer satisfaction for lorry and coach drivers. What I would say about this area of work is this is all around the wraparound in terms of the network we operate, and all about providing, as I say, a service to customers. So moving forward, what does the future look like for the SRN? So we talked earlier around the network, we talked around the importance of the network, and we also talked about the political direction in terms of government missions. In terms of the SRN, I think it's important to note that the interim settlement we'll have next year sets out a range of activities, but then we'll be developing our RIS. So we have done a lot on RIS 3. We've done a lot of work on planning for RIS 3. And that RIS 3 planning doesn't just cover the next 5 years, it covers 2035 to 40. It looks at a longer term ambition for the network. It thinks further ahead to 2050. But in terms of our network, we need to provide safe journeys. One of the statistics which you may not know is 10% of all delays on the network are caused by incidents. So that's breakdowns, that's collisions on the network. We need to make sure that we clear those collisions, that we manage the collisions effectively. We also need to make sure that we reduce the likelihood of incidents occurring. We do need to optimize network performance to provide more reliable journeys. That is not just about major infrastructure. So one of the things is about how we manage roadworks, how we manage diversion routes, how we make sure that you have good information to plan your operations effectively. We do need to better manage network integration. We recognize our role in supporting freight logistics, freight consolidation centers, rail freight activities. We do need to reduce the impact on communities, on our network, and we do need to support the decarbonisation agenda, and we touched on electric vehicles before and the work we do around there. And one of the other things, I think, is just recognising the need for a resilient network, a network you can rely on, and a network which responds to climate change. One of the key challenges on our network, but all networks, road networks in the UK, is that we do have ageing assets. A lot of our networks built in the 60s and 70s, and it is ageing. And we need to focus on keeping that network open, safe, and serviceable. So it's about enhancing the network, but it's also about making sure we look after the network we've got. That's going to be quite a key area of focus in terms of what we do in the next RIS and the RIS after, as well as enhancing it. And as I say, this is not an issue unique to ourselves. It's an issue that is cross-sector on all road networks, and I'm sure you've had issues where there's been road closures on other networks as well. So it's about maintaining what we've got and improving the network resilience. The plans we have been informed by the sector. We do, as I say, have freight form, and we have consulted on the RIS, and we have reflected on the priorities. I think we do recognise one of the key requirements is that you want predictability of journeys, that you want reliability, that you want good information to plan your networks, and that you want a service provider which is continuously improving and innovating to make sure we offer you the best service we can. And I think it's about partnership and collaboration, and that's really important. And my last point, which I suppose is the starting point in the conversation, we do need to be an advocate for roads. We do need to make the case for roads investment along a balanced investment in terms of the transport network we've got. And we do need to recognise those complex interrelationships. There are going to be difficult decisions by government in the next 5, 10, 15 years on what they prioritise. But fundamentally, roads and what you do will deliver UK productivity. It will deliver the jobs. It will deliver the housing growth in terms of the products that need to get to site. It will make sure regions are connected. It will make sure the ports are connected to business. And fundamentally, it's about partnership and what we do together to support our customers and our communities. I am excited about the future. I think we are at a really key point in terms of planning. Government are going to produce, as I say, quite a key number of milestone documents, and they will affect what you do, but they will provide opportunities, and that's the key thing. So thank you for your time, and enjoy the remainder of your conference. Thank you.
I want to say, well, we've got time for one question. You kind of touched on it, Richard, I think in your last point, but the question is about what proportion of National Highways investment is going into repairs and maintenance versus investment for the future. So can you give us an idea of what we can expect?
So in terms of the next RIS, it'll probably be around 2/3 of the investment we get in operating, maintaining a new network. That will grow, by the way, and that's quite important. As I say, we need to maintain the network we've got. There is still about 1/3 on enhancements and improving the network. I do want to say as well, though, it's not always the big things. I think one of the things I've reflected on, and we touched on it before in terms of the Slido, is about innovation, technology, autonomous vehicles, about thinking about the system approach. So we will see a growth in that area, but we'll also see maybe a better use of optimizing the network and the performance around the network.
And just a very quick second question. There's a lot of pressure to decarbonise and electrify the industry in line with targets. But what are you going to do to increase charge ports and reduce the extortionate service costs to charge them? It's all very well planning for the future, but we need to keep these things in line.
So I think it's really important that we're thinking about the system we operate and about the service we provide. So we do a lot of work with Department for Transport, and our colleagues are speaking soon around EV technology and about how we support EV rollout. Really interesting in terms of the work we do around thought leadership. It's not just about the charging. I'll just give you an example is, will EV vehicles mean that there are longer trucks? How do we think about lay-bys? How do we think about provision for loads which are longer? How do we think about weight? So there's a range of things we do beyond just the charging infrastructure. I think there is a good debate and healthy debate about how we support EV transition. I think we are involved, but it's very much a partnership with the Department for Transport and other key drivers for innovation.
Brilliant. Richard, thank you so much. We really appreciate your perspective and being here with us today. Thank you. Yes.